Is it really time for the Vikings to fall from being kings of the North? What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video. And today I'm going to be taking a deep dive into the 2023 Minnesota Vikings. If you guys are new, feel free to stick around. You guys know what to do with YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Other links are in the description. Got to update the one to TikTok because we have a brand new TikTok that's going to be popping off with the YouTube shorts that we're going to be posting very soon. Yeah, I sold my soul to the devil. I know. You guys can roast me about it all you want. Those 300 of you that will watch this. So, I'm ready. You can put the nails in my hands, pin me up, do whatever the hell you want, pause. But let's get right into this. If you guys are new to the series, we go basing off the depth chart, and then we go into a records prediction. Starting out with the offense, I'll go from skill position to line, and then for defense, line to skill position. And starting out with the quarterback, you got Kirk. Now, Kirk's just one of those dudes who's a top 15 quarterback every single year. And similar to the way I feel as a Steelers fan, you're in purgatory because you don't lose enough to get, someone young enough for an upgrade. So you kind of have to either steal somebody or else, deal with Kirk. But you're also not really being able to be pulled by your quarterback and kind of carried and being able to win games because of the fact that your quarterback has that talent. He's one of those guys who you just cannot trust to live up to in the big moments. Obviously, Kirk for a long time had this fear of performing well in the big lights. And, maybe that's still true. I still think that the fact that he got into the playoffs and has had some success is a great thing. Honestly, he's taken big strides forward. But the question is that good enough? He's also getting older. There's just a lot of factors that are playing into this. And, luckily Aaron Rodgers is gone, and we'll be posting the rest of the division later this week. Well, I'm going to be doing it every single day. So over the next 4 days, you'll be seeing the rest of the division. And, you'll see that the competition isn't as stiff as I expected. So, we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is the rest of the video for me to delve a little bit more into the overall team itself. But running back Alexander Mattison, I think that's one of the weak points on the team. I like Alexander Mattison. Again, I'm a huge fan of Alexander Mattison. I don't think he's an RB1. And I don't think he provides enough juice, enough upside after, being a Steelers fan, watching Najee Harris play. I even think Najee Harris isn't exactly the end-all, be-all for a starting running back. And in my opinion, he's just a much better version of Alexander Mattison. I'm curious to see what happens there. I don't think the ship is out for Dalvin Cook. Obviously, he's looking for some money. And, wherever he lands, proud of him, happy for him. But, I don't really believe that Alexander Madison's that type of guy who I want being the dude to carry the ball 20 to 30 times in a game where I need him to. That's my personal opinion. I know y'all disagree, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. You got CJ Ham as well, one of the few fullbacks I will talk about. He's been super consistent, just a dude who I'd love to have on my roster. Wide receiver-wise, you have one of the best, if not the best in the game, Justin Jefferson. Obviously, his buddy Jamar Chase up there with him, but you got Jordan Addison now as that pairing instead of Adam Thielen. You got younger, you got a little bit more energetic, but also I'm a little bit worried about Jordan Addison at his size. I think he's an amazing number 2, but I also don't know how he's going to work with Kirk. Does that mean it's a bad thing? Absolutely not. It's just more ambiguity, a little bit more confusion, and not as easy of rejection as I was hoping for. You got KJ Osborne in there as well, who's one of my favorite wide receiver 3s in the NFL. I just love KJ Osborne. He's really fun to play with in Madden too. If you guys do that, it's pretty fun. But then you got TJ Hawkinson as well. TJ is a very talented tight end. I think your receiving core is top tier. Offensive line, Christian Darrisaw was one of those dudes who I fell in love with, and he's been able to prove that my love was justified. And these baby hands comments never really made sense to me. I think that, it's not about the size, it's the motion of the ocean. You hear that all the time, but it's 100% true in this case as well. Ezra Cleveland, I think that's perfectly fine. He's a solid guard, tackle guard hybrid. Some people thought that he would end up playing tackle for you guys. I think he actually had some reps at tackle. It's slipping my mind currently, but Ezra Cleveland's still a very talented player. Garrett Bradbury, another guy I've heard, back especially when Tyler Linderbaum was around a little bit over a year ago, there was rumors that, you guys would be looking on the interior. Speaking of a guy who I think you got in that draft in the 3rd round on the interior, Ed Ingram. Very similar to Anthony Bradford, who got drafted this past year to the Seahawks. I just uploaded that video as well in case you want to check that one out. I loved Ed Ingram. He's a monster. He's a beast. And I was intrigued to see whether he'd stick to an NFL roster because, he has a very solid foundation as a run blocker, but we'd have to see as a pass blocker. And, I'm excited. I'm excited for what he has to have in store for us. And then Brian O'Neill is talented right tackle there. Overall, I think this is a really good team. It's a very good offense here. You got Jalen Reagor as well as a backup, as well as Jalen Naylor. So you got some very good backup receivers. I don't think that they're, the creme de la creme, but I do think that they're serviceable at best. You got Josh Oliver as well. Forgot about that. Dwayne McBride, that could be someone who steps up. I was never over the moon for Dwayne, but Dwayne's a very good back. He was able to revamp his game over the last year. I am a huge fan of Ty Chandler, though. That was like one of my guys, and maybe he can step up into a role. One of my sleeper dudes for sure. Overall, B+. That's a very, very good grade. I don't think that necessarily because of the fact you have, Madison in there, and maybe the interior offensive line doesn't exactly overhype me, and you have a cap at quarterback. I think that, it's going to keep you away from that A territory. But the defense, still solid here. I don't trust the interior of the defensive line. We'll talk about that right now. Dean Lowry, is, in my opinion, nothing special. 17 pressures last year. And just overall, he's not a tomato can, but he's just not great. Kyrus Tongo is one of my dudes who I fell in love with. Ended up falling really far because I think he was older as well from BYU. Went to the Bears, stayed in division, and he had a big career resurgence last year. I guess you can't really say that. It was year 2, but he had a big step up. And I think he can continue to do that. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be consistent enough to handle. Then you got Harrison Phillips there as well. He's okay. He had 24 pressures last year. The guy who surprised me in terms of his statistics, even though I know he's a freaking beast, is Danielle Hunter. He had like 76 pressures last year. Unbelievable. This man needs to get paid $20-30 million a year. And I'm pretty sure at the start of this offseason, it might be currently to this day, just coming off vacation, but, he was due $8 million. I'd be pissed, and understandably so. There were rumors of him sitting out, but hopefully that is or has been all fixed up. Again, slipping my mind at the moment. Marcus Davenport, when healthy, is a really good player. He's not nearly as productive as Daniil, but when you lose to Darius Smith, I do think it is a downgrade to go to Marcus, but, you're getting a raw prospect who's been able to develop quite a bit, which is a good sign. Linebacker-wise, you guys have drafted in the past, well, I guess one of them signed, in the past 2 years, past 2 drafts, probably my favorite pound-for-pound linebacker in each class. I thought Brian Asamoah, value-wise, was incredible. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. And then this year, you signed Ivan Pace Jr. in the UDFA offseason. So another one of those guys who I fell in love with. Jordan Hicks as well, nice veteran there. You guys lost Eric Hendricks, which I think is, in my opinion, one of the biggest losses in the league. That's just a dude who can command a defense. He is that guy when all is going to shit. You look at him and you say, hey, we're going to put your faith in you. And you just can't find that with anybody. Even Jordan Hicks, who's an experienced veteran, has been around. I just don't trust him the way that Eric Hendricks would. And I personally would have kept Eric at almost any cost, except for obviously something extremely extravagant, which he wasn't even paid an extravagant amount. I know that maybe he's not playing the way he did 2 years ago, but it's just that leadership quality is not something you can find anywhere. And I think that his overall play is still very solid. You got Harrison Smith there, obviously one of the faces of the team for the past decade, damn near. And then at free safety, you got Cam Bynum listed as safety 1 according to our lads, but Lewis Seen, unfortunately, that injury, but former first-round pick just over a year ago, sitting there. I think that he could take a big step up as well because I like Lewis Seen quite a bit. Corner-wise, Byron Murphy, as long as he stays healthy, is a beast, but health has been, the main issue. It's why you got him for, I believe, a 1-year, $5 million deal. Caleb Evans has been absolutely nothing. It's one of my big issues with this team. The corner core has just never been good. You got Pat Pete in there last year, and that's, it is that. I wasn't a huge fan of Andrew Booth Jr. because of injuries and just overall I wasn't a huge fan. I had him a second-round grade. I'm not saying he's, again, the term tomato can. He's not bad at all, but I wasn't ecstatic about him the way some people had him as corner 1 above Sauce and Derek Stingley, which I thought was stupid. But, it is what it is. You have, I think, just the corner court itself is very, very fragile. You do have Mekhi Blackmon there, who I think I really like in this system. I would say I wish Patrick Peterson were there because there's a big issue with Mekhi and his grabbing. And similar to what I was talking about the other day, we'll be retweeting it soon. But I'm forgetting what show. I think it was the King of the North podcast. I was there with Urinating Tree, and we were talking about the Steelers and Joey Porter Jr. He has a big issue with grabbing. One of the best guys to be able to teach you how to grab properly is Patrick Peterson. So, you take that away from this team, and a guy like Mekhi Blackmon, that would have been a perfect mentor for him. I do think there's going to be some slip-ups there, and I could see people saying how Mekhi Blackmon is a bust because all he does is hold. But I'm just hoping that y'all have the patience to hopefully get first off, get somebody who can come in and be a good mentor, but two, just have the patience to let him develop. At the other cornerback position, you got Joejuan Williams, who, he is, a physical freak. I'm pretty sure he's 6'4", and, I'm just kind of reaching at straws right now to talk about backups here. But other guys of note, already talked about Ivan Pace Jr., 230 pounds at 5'10", able to deck a guard while he was pulling there at the Senior Bowl, and I got to see him in person. He's a fun player to watch. Then you got Jacqueline Roy there at nose tackle. I got to love that as well. I think you have Otamiwo I think his name's Sezi Otamiwo at defensive end from Minnesota. He is a unique prospect, 280 pounds. Somebody who probably will never take some really meaningful snaps, but another guy to note that's not in the notable backups. And you got Patrick Jones there, who I think, especially if Danielle Hunter, again, I should honestly know this off the top of my head, but if Danielle Hunter is kind of pissy with the organization, decides to sit out, Patrick Jones could step in and be one of those sleeper guys that you didn't see having good production, but could be one of those guys because I did like him there at Pittsburgh. Going into the schedule, I think that this team, 8-9 sounds atrocious, but I'm going to be completely frank. The AFC can absolutely eviscerate the majority of the NFC, and I do have you guys doing really well versus NFC overall. You face Philadelphia, that's going to be an oof. We'll go game by game here. Tampa Bay, I think that you guys are significantly better. At Philadelphia, I don't think I need to explain that very much. You're facing Los Angeles, who, they have a really, really good receiving core. As I just mentioned, I have an issue with your secondary, especially the health of it. But, for this, I, project majority health. I think that Los Angeles is just a Super Bowl caliber team. So you face automatically 2 13-plus win teams. Then you have Carolina, who I think is absolutely awesome, and you play in Carolina. So you're going from a dome to, out in the elements in Carolina. It's going to be brutal. And it's a damn good team, too. Carolina is just one of those teams that's always great on paper. And I'm hoping that this offseason finally sees them click. Then you have Kansas City there, another Super Bowl caliber team. You go to Chicago. That's a game that you guys could win for sure. That's a toss-up game. You guys could end up being 9-8 right there. San Francisco, I'm projecting that Brock Purdy is going to be back in week number 10. They say week number 1, but you're pushing it. You're pushing it for someone to come back from that surgery. When you have 2 capable backups, I highly doubt that they're going to rush a guy that they think is their long-term answer. So regardless, I don't even think if Brock Purdy were available that you guys would lose that game. I do have faith in your roster. You go to Green Bay, you beat them up. Atlanta's a good roster too. I have you guys beating them. Then you go to New Orleans comes to you guys. New Orleans, another good franchise right now. They're a solid team overall. Aging, but they're, patching properly to where they're still competitive. You go to Denver. I don't think I need to explain that very much. I have a little bit of faith in Russ. And, I feel like that was the first kick in the ass he's had in a while. I think he'll have a good bounce back. And we all know that that team is really good on paper. Have you guys end up splitting with Chicago? It is just, I think that in division you split quite often anyway. Then you have your bye week, and so does Vegas. So you go to Vegas. Vegas is a good team. They have some major holes, but I do think that that's one of those games. It was originally 9-8. I flipped it for Vegas because of the fact that, hoping that there's some health there with Tyree Wilson. They're a good enough team, for sure. They're a good enough team. It really depends on the health of Jimmy Garoppolo. If he's gone, obviously I'm not giving them that dub, and I'm giving y'all the dub. But, you easily could be 10-7 right here. Then you go to Cincinnati. Don't think you need to explain that. And I have you split with Detroit because they're a good team. They just didn't capitalize the way they need to. They also have some big holes on their roster. End up having you sweep Green Bay. Green Bay is a good roster. I'm going to get chewed apart for that one, but I personally feel bad for how poor of an overall record I gave Green Bay, because I do think they're a much better team than what the record will suggest. But overall, you're still first in the conference. You haven't moved at all. You guys are still in that top 3 zone because of the fact you won, and then you're going to end up probably, with a lower pick. I just don't think without the high upside of Dalvin Cook, you're going to be able to maximize on the opportunities the way that I would hope to. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the far side.